Many foreigners think that in Russia there is only one Kremlin, in Moscow. That's wrong.
The premises of the house are connected by passages at the levels of the second and the fifth floors. Previously, the nobility used to settle here. Shuhov specialized in designing metal structures that looked amazing.
Russia is not limited to Moscow and St. Petersburg. There are many other interesting places worth visiting. Now we are making a short trip to a city called Nizhny Novgorod.
In Russia there are two cities that have the word Novgorod in their names. The first is Veliky Novgorod and the second one is Nizhny Novgorod. Today our destination is Nizhny Novgorod, or simply Nizhny, as this name is often abbreviated in Russia. Nizhny Novgorod is about 400 kilometers to the east of Moscow on the Volga River. This time I take a Lastochka train which departs from Vostochny railway station in Moscow. The road to Nizhny Novgorod takes a little less than 4 hours. The city is located at the place where the Volga River flows into the Volga. The historical center is on the right high bank of the Volga River. The Kremlin is also here.
Many foreigners think that in Russia there is only one Kremlin, in Moscow. That's wrong.
In Russia, there are up to 20 Kremlins, including wooden ones that have survived to one degree or another. Well preserved until our days are 12. One of them is the Nizhny Novgorod Kremlin. The Kremlin acquired its modern forms at the beginning of the 16th century, when a stone Kremlin was built instead of a wooden fortress. The project was developed under the Italian architect Pietro Francesco, whom Tsar Vasily III, the father of Ivan the Terrible, asked to build a stone fortress to protect Russian border against Tatar raids. And it should be noted that the Italian architectural school is well represented in many cities of Russia, especially in St. Petersburg and Moscow. The Nizhny Novgorod Kremlin was subject to numerous sieges by Kazan Tatars, but has never been captured. Not far from the Kremlin is the central pedestrian street of Nizhny Bolshaya Pokrovskaya. Previously, the nobility used to settle here. Today, it is a place where local residents and tourists like to take walks. This place is famous for its architecture and a large number of cafes and restaurants. The State Bank on the right is one of the most beautiful buildings in the city. It was built in 1913, and since then, the bank has been located in these premises. And it's interesting that during the World War I, almost the entire gold reserve of the Russian Empire was kept in this building for some time. Just 200 meters from the theater, and you have a chance to see a creation of another era. A residential building in the constructivist style was built in the 30s of the last century. It is called the Cultural Revolution. The premises of the house are connected by passages at the levels of the second and the fifth floors. Some of them have been demolished. The house had specially allocated communal blocks. For example, in front of us there is a building where canteen, cooking area and laundry space were allocated. It was assumed at that time that personal space is required by residents of the house only for sleeping. Cooking, eating, washing, communicating with neighbors had to be done in specially designated areas.
Let's see what's inside.
There is nothing interesting with the exception of a long corridor on the fifth floor which connects all the premises. The same corridor at the second floor is closed because some passages between the buildings are demolished. The state of this house is far from being perfect. Especially comparing it to the nearby area.
I hope one day reconstruction will come to this building as well.
And now let's move to another area, the so-called protected quarters. Once these streets were located on the outskirts of the city, but gradually turned into a center of cultural life, as representatives of the creative intelligentsia began to settle here. In late Soviet times, many of the wooden houses fell into despair, and only recently local activists of the movement Tom Sawyer Fest have started to restore them step by step. For example, Russian and Soviet writer Maxim Gorky lived in this house. So, from time to time, famous people came to this house to visit Maxim Gorky. Among them was opera singer Fyodor Shaliapin, who was a friend of Maxim Gorky. Shaliapin liked to go out to the balcony to chant. Naturally, this show gathered a crowd of citizens who came to the area to listen to Shaliapin's voice.
By the way, in Soviet times, the city was renamed after Maxim Gorky, and only with the Soviet Union collapse, it got its original name.
From the protected quarters, I am heading to Rozdestvenskaya. This is the other central street on the opposite side of the Kremlin. To get there, I will go down the Chkalov stairs and take a walk along the Volga embankment. From below, the Kremlin looks especially monumental and impregnable. Now I understand why it has never been seized. In Rozdestvenskaya, life is in full swing, and the street looks more natural than Bolshaya Pokrovskaya. And I personally like Rozdestvenskaya more. Ignore the fact that many summer verandas are empty. This is not because people do not have money to go to restaurants, a common stereotype that sometimes I find in comments from foreign people. No, It's just because in the central part of Russia the season of verandas opens in May, and they are being prepared now. In general, cafes and restaurants are full, despite the fact that today is a working day. From Rozdestvenskaya we are going to the opposite side of the Oka River, where the Oka joins the Volga. This place is called Strelka. Previously, at this place there was a fair, well known all over the country, and a port, one of the largest river ports in Russia. In 1896, the All-Russia exhibition was held at this place. During this exhibition, a huge number of various pavilions, shops and hotels were built here. A tram connecting the city with the exhibition was launched. Here you may see some remnants from that time. These metal frames are a piece of work by engineer Shuhov, who by the way designed the Shuhov Tower at Shabalovka in Moscow. Shuhov specialized in designing metal structures that looked amazing. Unfortunately, not much remained until these days. During the Soviet period, the port replaced the fair, the pavilions were dismantled, and after the collapse of the USSR, this place fell into despair. And only when preparations for the World Cup in 2018 began, this place got a second wind. So during the reconstruction of this area, some metal structures of engineer Shuhov from the exhibition of 1896 were found, and it was decided to use them as a part of the new design for this area. The port was removed from here, and Strelka was turned into a recreation area. This is Nizhny Novgorod in short.